Hi folks, in today's video I want to talk about how you can get started investing for your child or children in a junior ISA here in the UK. I'm going to talk about a couple of different options you have, as far as cash or stocks and shares ISAs go. I'm going to be talking about some of the pros and cons of both those methods, and I'm going to be talking about how Mrs. Prettypenny and I have been investing for our son in a stocks and shares ISA on Vanguard. I'm going to give you a sneak peek at his account towards the end of this video and let you see how his investments have been going. So if all that sounds pretty good to you, make sure you stay and watch to the end of the video. Hi folks, I am David from prettypenny.club. I make videos to help you reach your financial goals with content on investing, passive income, frugal living, generally trying to make your money work hard for you. Subscribe if that sounds good to you. And of course, since it's January, just before I get into this video, one final plug, one final call for anybody who is interested in winning my referrals this month. All the referrals I've been getting from my affiliate links in the description below, I've been rolling up into a big ball, and I'm going to fire those out to people who are commenting, people who are liking these videos, people who are subscribed. Get on with all that good stuff if you want to be in with a chance of winning the referrals this month. That's it, nice and quick, let's get into it. So I reckon there isn't a single person investing in the world today that doesn't wish they had got started a little bit sooner. Time and consistency are the two biggest factors in generating any long-term or even generational wealth. So starting to invest in your child early is going to give them the biggest possible chance they have of becoming wealthy, and maybe even in a life-changing way. So let's talk about how we are going to achieve this goal of making our kids wealthy without them even trying that hard. So what is a junior ISA? A junior ISA is a long-term investment for people who are under 18 and resident in the UK. It is a tax-free investment for the lifetime of the account. So any interest or any capital you gain throughout the lifetime of the account remains completely tax-free. This is a huge advantage over something like a current account or a regular savings account. Anyone with parental responsibility for a child can open a junior ISA in the child's name. Once the child becomes 16, they will be able to take control of that account, but they cannot withdraw any money from it until they hit 18 years old. When they turn 18, then that junior ISA will just naturally become a full ISA product. And when it becomes that full ISA product, then the money can be withdrawn or it can be transferred to a different product, different supplier, all those kinds of things. It is important to note that while anyone with parental responsibility can open the account, they don't have any right to withdraw that money. They lose all legal control of any money that they put into that account. It does belong to the child and will remain there, as I say, until they're 18. Junior ISAs are a little bit more flexible compared to their full adult equivalents. This is because you can have a junior cash ISA and a junior stocks and shares ISA ongoing at the same time. In a cash ISA, any interest paid on the capital is entirely tax-free, and in a stocks and shares ISA, any growth on your capital and any dividends paid by the stocks and shares remain tax-free for the duration of the account. For the financial year 2020-21, you can invest up to £9,000 per child in a junior ISA account. If you're looking at a junior cash ISA product, then typically you're going to see a higher rate of interest offered on the account, but that is typically because the money will be locked up for a longer period of time. You won't have any instant access to the funds in that account should you need them. And of course the higher rate of interest will be tax-free. So that's pretty good. £9,000 is an increase of roughly £4,300 from the financial year before. So if you're in a position where you can invest up to £9,000 for your child, well, you'll be putting them in a really good position going forwards. In terms of disadvantages, well, there aren't really that many disadvantages. Tax-free is certainly better than being taxed on any of your earnings, income, profits, all that kind of thing. The chief disadvantage is that the money will be locked up until the child becomes 18, at which point the parents who invested the money in the first place or the contributors to the fund will have absolutely no legal say as to how that money is spent. So even as a parent or as a grandparent or anybody who is interested in the child's financial well-being deposited some money through the years and hoped that the child might use that when they turn 18 for something like college fees or a deposit for a house, and that child doesn't want to do that with any of the money, they want to spend it on sweets and fast cars, well, there's not an awful lot you can do about that. In fact, there's nothing you can do about that because the money legally belongs to the child. You have no legal say as to how that money will be spent. It can't be ring-fenced for particular purposes, and that's where our job as parents comes in, to try to educate our children over the years so that they begin to develop some good financial habits. If you did have some genuine concerns about what might happen with this money when the account matures, then maybe a junior ISA isn't the right account for you. So opening an account, you've got two choices. You can have a cash ISA or a stocks and shares ISA. With the cash ISA, you are generally getting a fixed rate of return on your money, which these days is somewhere around 1 to 2%, which isn't great, but it is better than nothing, and it's certainly better than any current account or e-savings account that might be out there at the moment. As I say, any interest gained on that will be entirely tax-free, so there is that little benefit there. Another option is the stocks and shares ISA, and of course with this it carries a little bit more risk. It is possible that you could end up having less money at the end of the ISA than you did at the start. Stock markets go up and down, and since the stocks and shares ISA are essentially investing in the stock markets, it is possible that you could lose money. However, over the long period of time, the stock markets have been shown to be rising at a rate of somewhere between 6 and 10% depending on which markets you're looking at. So from that point of view, if you have long enough, you could imagine that perhaps you are going to be able to ride out the ups and downs of the stock market and in the end come out on average 6 to 10% per year better off. This is where the small print would say that past performance is not a reliable indicator for future performance. So if you are thinking about opening some of these products, I would suggest that maybe you speak to a financial advisor to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, so by way of example, I'm going to take you through what we do for our boy. Around about a year, 15 months ago, we opened up a stocks and shares junior ISA with Vanguard to invest for his future. So what I'll do is just jump onto his account here on the Vanguard website, show you how it's grown since we opened it, and then talk about some possible projections as to how his account might grow in the remaining 15-16 years that it has to run. Alright, so here we are in my son's junior ISA account. You can see there its current value is £6,987.91p. So let's just have a quick look at that. So we opened it here on the 2nd of December 2019, and we opened that with the full ISA allowance as it was then, £4,368. As I say, that has now gone up to £9,000. But we'll not be hitting that this year. So you can see there it started to grow almost immediately. Up until around about the end of February, March, when we all know what happened at that point. Markets took a dive and gradually started their long road back. So this is what I was talking about when you're investing in stocks and shares. It's better to do it over the long term. It gives the market an opportunity to catch up on dips and crashes. So you can see straight after the bottom here of the pandemic, in terms of stocks and shares at least, it started to rise again. At this point here in August, we made another deposit of around about £1,000, and it continued to grow up until about a week or two ago when we made another deposit, and it has continued to grow and sits now at around 6,987. So the rate of return on that is 11.91% for 565 quid in just over a year. And that's not a bad return when you consider that the best ISA rate at the moment is 1.3%. That is lower than the historic rate of inflation, which isn't good, which means that over the long term, your money could be losing money in real terms. So even though the inflation rate, I think at the moment, is around about 0.8%, this is not a good rate, and I am not having my son's money tied up at 1.3%. However, it has returned 565 quid. Vanguard say that's 11.91%, but they are talking about an internal rate of return on the money, which takes into account new money coming into the account, how long money has been there. So it's all very much dependent on timings and how each bit of your money has grown. The calculation for it is outrageously complicated. So I'm just going to take it at face value that it is 11.91% internal rate of return. And after fees, all platform fees, ETF fees, all those kinds of things, we're left with £565 in profit. So he has 60% here, life strategy fund, which basically means 60% is equities, 40% bonds, and that is spread across all kinds of different Vanguard products. So you can see how each part of the investment has grown over time. The FTSE Developed World is basically a tracker against the developed world, and you can see that one also is doing okay. And the S&P 500 as well. The biggest economy in the world. And there's a little bit of cash lying about. So that's the makeup of his account. That is how we have chosen to invest for our son going forward. So he's got 16 years for this to grow. We're going to be adding to it, obviously, as time goes by. And hopefully it can build in the nice little nest egg. So let's now have a wee look at some hypotheticals as to how this money could still grow in the future. Okay, so here we are in a nice compound interest calculator. We're going to have a look at the kind of returns we can expect for my son over the next 16 years that this ISA sits. So let's imagine, first of all, we've got the £6,900 that he has in his account right now. And we're going to look at an annual interest rate of 2%, which is slightly more generous than the 1.3 cash ISA that we're getting, but let's say that'll improve a bit over time. 2%. We're looking at 16 years and we aren't going to contribute any more money. Let's see how that goes. So after year 1, he would receive £138 in interest. Next year it would be 140, 143, 146, 149, and that's because we are starting to get interest upon our interest. And after 16 years, he could expect that account to now be worth £9,472. With a starting balance of 6,900. So he'd make roughly about £3,500 off that. Let's now look at the lower end of stock market returns. So if we say stock market returns typically 6 to 10% per year on average, not every year it'll be like that. Some there'll be ups and downs, but let's say we'll even put in 5. We'll leave everything else the same. No more yearly deposits, starting with the same amount of money. Instead of being 9,472, we're now looking at 15,000. So it's an extra £6,000 because we're investing in the stock market. Now, of course, this isn't nailed on. This is a projection. But nonetheless, you can see how after 1 year, we would be earning £345 of interest. You can see by the time we get to year 16, that has more than doubled. It's now £717 a year on interest alone. Tax-free. Remember, all this is tax-free because it's in an ISA account. So let's bump this up to say 8% because that's in the middle of the 6 to 10% range. 16 years calculated. We are now sitting at a whopping £23,000. Our interest goes from being £500 a year to £1,751 a year on interest alone. Imagine if we were able to put an extra £1,000 a year into this account for this wee man over the next 16 years. He's now sitting in £54,000 by the time he's 18. And he's earning nearly £4,000 a year on interest. So if you push that out for the rest of his working life, so 18 to say 65, say another 40 years on top of that. So instead of 16, it becomes 56 years. If he never touched that at £1,000 a year, we're talking about nearly £1.5 million if he just leaves that be and invests £1,000 a year. He'd be finishing his career with a £1.5 million nest egg, realistically. It just goes to show the power of compounding and why it's so important to start investing for your kids as soon as you possibly can. Year 1 interest, $552. Year 56, we've got £105,000 on interest alone. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So if you have the opportunity, I would really suggest give this some thought. It doesn't matter if you're starting with a very small amount or starting with a slightly more extravagant amount. Get started. It's the compounding, it's the time and the consistency that I was talking about at the start of this video that is going to enable your kids to generate wealth. Life-changing wealth, in my view. Just give it a go. So that's it for this video, folks. I hope that's given you an insight as to why you might want to get started investing for your kids in a junior ISA. If you have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments section below. I'm happy to answer anything I can. Don't forget about the competition. Use those referral links. If you found value in this video, please leave a like, leave a comment, and please consider subscribing if you're interested in more content like this. Folks, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.